Okay, folks, we have talked about photosynthesis. We've talked about how plants make glucose, which the plants can then store, and we can eat the plants to get glucose to use in our body. We've discussed this. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to discuss how our cells harvest this chemical energy, how our cells take that glucose and use it. That's going to lead us into what we call cellular respiration. Cellular respiration. So, what we're going to start off with here, and I guess let's talk a little bit of objectives. What should we be able to do? We should be able to write the balanced equation for cellular respiration. I believe if you turn back one page in your interactive notebook, that should be the page that has the balanced chemical equation for cellular respiration. Okay? So, we should be able to write that. We should know where cellular respiration occurs at. Okay? You should be able to tell me where cellular respiration occurs at. You should be able to tell me the products and the reactants, but that goes back to the equation. Now, in eukaryotes, cellular respiration harvests energy from food. It harvests energy from food. It yields large amounts of ATP, and it uses ATP to drive cellular work. Here's that ATP. What is ATP? We've talked about ATP already. What is it? Adenosine triphosphate. And can you remember what ATP does for our body? It moves molecules. Well, let's turn back to our ATP page. Turn back to our ATP page. We're flipping back a little bit. It's before photosynthesis. So we should be on about 59? Interactive notebook, page 59. Now look at ATP. Should be your top one. Lift that up. We see the structure of it. Lift up the foldable. What's it tell you? What's it tell you about ATP? What? It provides the energy for the cells. Okay? It provides the energy for the cells. Okay? So, in order for your cells to have energy, we need this ATP. And where is this ATP made? Through this whole process right here of what we call cellular respiration. Cellular respiration. A similar process also takes place in many prokaryotic organisms. So a similar process to cellular respiration takes place in prokaryotes. Well, let's look at this whole cellular respiration. Okay, cellular respiration. It says aerobic harvesting of energy. We might not know what aerobic means right now, but I can bet you we're going to learn what it is fairly shortly. Aerobic. Okay. Photosynthesis and cellular respiration provide the energy for life. And we should know that all life requires energy. We need energy. Do trees need energy? Yeah. Okay. Do plants? Well, a tree's a plant. Plants, yeah, they need energy. So life requires energy. In almost all of the ecosystems on the earth, the energy ultimately comes from the sun. We can trace all energy back to the sun because it provides one of the necessary materials for photosynthesis, light. In photosynthesis, the sunlight's captured by the chloroplast. Atoms of carbon dioxide and water are rearranged, and glucose and oxygen is produced. We've been through photosynthesis. Flip back one page. Okay, flip back one page in your interactive notebook to page 67. You're looking at photosynthesis, and it tells you everything about this slide, that one little equation. Look at the reactant side. Does it say that sunlight is captured in the chloroplast? Yes, it tells you specifically by what? What captures the sunlight? Well, the leaves, yeah, but what specifically in the leaves? Huh? The chlorophyll. Excellent. Okay? So, the sunlight is captured by the chloroplast, which are in the leaves, specifically the chlorophyll. Okay? Atoms of carbon dioxide and water are rearranged. Are carbon dioxide and water the reactants too? Are carbon dioxide the reactants too? Carbon dioxide and water? Absolutely. What's produced looking at that equation? Glucose and oxygen. Is that what this slide says right there at the bottom? Yeah. So this is just basically reviewing for us that equation for photosynthesis. That equation for photosynthesis. Well, let's look at cellular respiration. The glucose is broken down to carbon dioxide and water. Cells capture some of the released energy to make ATP. Now let's turn back the page again to 68, and let's look at that equation. Let's look at that equation for cellular respiration. Okay? What are the reactants for cellular respiration? What are the reactants for cellular respiration? What's one thing we need? What, Jamie? Glucose is one thing we need. What else? What else, Jonathan? Glucose and oxygen. And during the process, we have certain products. What are our products? Okay. Dylan, what's one of our products of cellular respiration? Water. What's another product of cellular respiration, Maddie? Carbon dioxide. And our third product we have? Our third product, Lewis? Energy, as in adenosine triphosphate, which is what we call ATP, right? So, we have that equation, cellular respiration. It takes the glucose and the oxygen, breaks it down, rearranges until we have carbon dioxide, we have water, and we have ATP. This all takes place in the mitochondria of eukaryotic cells. The mitochondria of the eukaryotic cell. Now, we've talked about mitochondria when we talked about cells. Okay? We talked about that. Some people call the mitochondria the powerhouse of the cell. The powerhouse of the cell. Why do they call it that? Because we get all of our energy from ATP. And where's that ATP made at? In the mitochondria. Okay? In the mitochondria. At least most of it is made in the mitochondria. Okay? Now, let me ask you this question. Do we have mitochondria? Do animal cells have mitochondria? Yes. Do plant cells have mitochondria? Think about that. Do plant cells have mitochondria? Okay. Let's look. Let's review back. Spin back in your notes to your cells. Find the mitochondria in your interactive notebook. We could find this in a couple of places. I see a lot of people looking at a diagram that you have side by side on 51 and 52. Okay, that's an excellent place to find this. Do you see any mitochondria in the animal, or excuse me, check in the plant cell? Yes, you do, don't you? Also, mitochondria is on page 48. Okay, look at 48 in your interactive notebook. Find the picture of the mitochondria. Look at the diagram on the other page. Okay, look at the chart on the other page. Are mitochondria in both plant and animal cells? Yeah, what does that chart tell you about the mitochondria and where it's found? Okay, where it's found. What's it say? All type of cells? Is that what it says? Okay. So we got the mitochondria. Are mitochondria in prokaryotes? Or mitochondria in prokaryotes? Do prokaryotes have membrane-bound organelles? No. Do prokaryotes have a mitochondria then? No. Okay? Okay? So if you should just have eukaryotes on there. Right? You read the wrong one. You should just have all eukaryotic cells, right? So are plants and animals both eukaryotes? Yes. Prokaryotes, remember, do not have membrane-bound organelles. So they will not have a mitochondria. Okay? So, what I was getting at, my point, do plants undergo cellular respiration? Yes, because they have mitochondria. Okay? A lot of people think cellular respiration is like respiration that you and I are breathing in and out our air. Is that cellular respiration, breathing in and out our air? No, that is not cellular respiration. Okay? That is not cellular respiration. But that leads us in to this. Breathing supplies oxygen for cellular respiration, and it removes carbon dioxide. So as we inhale, we are providing oxygen to our body. As we exhale, we are getting rid of carbon dioxide, correct? So that breathing is what provides the essentials and releases some gases, but is that cellular respiration, breathing? No. No, it is not. We're going to talk about that here in a second. Let me plop back to this slide. Does that look familiar to you? Does that look familiar to you? How about page 66? How about page 66? So this should show you how photosynthesis and cellular respiration are related. The chloroplast, right here, where photosynthesis occurs. It makes glucose and releases oxygen. Then the mitochondria takes that glucose and oxygen, it makes ATP, and it releases water and carbon dioxide. Well, who needs water and carbon dioxide? The chloroplasts to undergo photosynthesis. So can you see the cyclic nature that we have going on here? Can you see the cyclic nature? Absolutely, I hope. Now let's get back to this breathing. Respiration as it relates to breathing and cellular respiration are not the same. So respiration and cellular respiration are not the same. Respiration, in the sense of breathing, refers to an exchange of gases. An organism brings in oxygen from the environment and releases carbon dioxide. So during the process of respiration, we breathe in oxygen, we release CO2, carbon dioxide. Cellular respiration is the aerobic harvesting of energy from food molecules. I stated that earlier, the aerobic harvesting of energy. Now, what aerobic means is that it requires oxygen. So aerobic respiration means that we need oxygen. What do you think anaerobic means? What does, if we add a or an, we've done prefixes, what does that mean? Adding a or an to it. Anybody remember? Not, no or not. Okay? A or an means no or not. So, if aerobic means it needs oxygen, what does anaerobic mean? It doesn't need oxygen. We'll deal with anaerobic respiration coming up later on. It's called fermentation. We'll do that here in a few days. Look at this lady here. She's a jogging. Okay, she's running. She's breathing in oxygen in her lungs. She's releasing carbon dioxide. Okay? That oxygen's carried through the bloodstream. It gets to our cells. Our cells undergo cellular respiration and release carbon dioxide, which the lady then releases. Cellular respiration is a process that transfers energy in the bonds of glucose to form ATP. So we are breaking down glucose to form ATP. We're breaking down glucose to form ATP. Now, when we break down substances into smaller substances, okay, we talked about metabolism, right? Turn to that diagram in your interactive notebook, okay? Turn to that diagram in your interactive notebook, okay? I'm looking at page 58, okay? When I am breaking something down, what type is it? Okay? Breaking down is what? Catabolic. Excellent. See where that is under your metabolism? The two pathways are catabolic and anabolic. Catabolic is the breaking down. So this cellular respiration is catabolic. It is breaking down glucose. So, during the process of cellular respiration, it produces up to 32 ATP molecules from each one glucose molecule. So it produces 32, up to 32 ATP molecules for every glucose. However, that is only about 34% of the energy that a glucose molecule has. So we're only using about 34% of the glucose energy. Now, folks, it's important to remember those numbers. You're going to see that again, I guarantee. The whole 32 ATP molecules and using about 34%. Okay, using about 34% of the energy that is stored in the glucose. Other foods, other organic molecules can also be used as a source of energy. Okay, we're going to talk our next chapter. Our next chapter is going to be dealing with macromolecules. Macromolecules are other organic molecules that can also be used as energy. All right, so that'll be coming up with our next chapter, okay, our next unit, so to speak.